really true.
Actually, I'm going to ask you each to make a 2-minute closing statement.
Okay.
But before you do, I just want to say one thing. If you listen to this lecture tonight, you have 3 choices. 1, you could say, I don't think the information was good or accurate. I don't believe it. I don't care. I'm going to ignore it. And that's fine. If that's the conclusion you came to, that everything that you heard was meaningless, that's fine. If you were interested in quitting your job and going out and researching GMOs, chemicals, the food system, writing books, lecturing, and making this your life's work, that would be fantastic. If, however, you're saying you don't want to make any changes in your life, but you do think this is important stuff, there is a third fantastic, deeply impactful thing you could do, which would be to financially support the people that are on the front lines. So as far as Jeffrey Smith's organization, Institute for Responsible Technology, they have a shoestring budget, and they're doing fantastic things, and they need your support. And if you're thinking someone else has got this handled and someone else is going to donate, and there's lots of Jeffrey Smiths out there and lots of Institute for Responsible Technology that are going to do this, I don't know if that's the case. So if you feel like your money situation isn't ideal, give $1. If you feel like you could give 100, that's fantastic. You can give 1,000. In other words, this is, is as important as anything for all the reasons you're hearing. And if we don't support this, they might not be here one day, and then there's no one fighting for you and no one doing research. So I really hope everyone would support that organization. I'd like for each of you just to take 30 seconds and tell us, how can we support you? What is your organization? How do we find out more, and how could we support you if we wanted to try to continue to have you do the work you're doing? You want to, each of you, answer that?
Sure. I coordinate a group called No Spray Coalition, which is against toxic pesticides. And so you could go to www.nospray.org, and you could find out more there. And also you could please write, and we could add what you write to the website or to our listservs, and that would be fantastic, because it's not just coming out of our heads, it's coming out of all of us and all of our experiences. And I thank you very much to the people in the audience for being here and for participating. So thank you.
You can go to foodrevolution.org. That's foodrevolution.org to check out our website. There are over 1,000 articles on there. We have 20,000 visitors a day learning about healthy, sustainable, ethical food. You can sign up for our email list. You can join in right there. There's a link to a master class with my dad, John Robbins, and I, which is all about helping you apply this in your life. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't just matter what you know, it's what you do. It's how you live. So join us, and also grab a copy of 31 Day Food Revolution. I'd love to sign copies for folks tomorrow if you want to get a copy. My grandpa invented Baskin-Robbins. We're saying we got to be better at marketing healthy food than he was at marketing ice cream.
I was a vegetarian for 7 years because of your dad and his wonderful book. I work for a group called US Right to Know, USRTK.org. We research the pesticide and food industry. We put documents online. We dig up documents they don't want you to see. So you can find all that on our website. We post the Monsanto papers. We're reporting on the Monsanto Roundup trials. And we have a list you can sign up for to get a weekly newsletter with food news for your health, USRTK.org. And thank you to Steve for this entire event. It's an incredible opportunity to really have long conversations with people. That's rare. And thank you to all of you for sticking with us for these hours. That's really impressive.
So let me just repeat that. That was USRTK, USRTK.org.
And thank you, Steve, for your encouragement for donations. If you'd like to make a donation to the Institute for Responsible Technology, you can go to responsibletechnology.org. We also have a newsletter, and we also have other programs available at livehealthybewell.com. I have a podcast. My last podcast, the one that expires tomorrow, is with Stephen Druker on the first chapter of his amazing book. And I'd love to talk to everyone on this panel for the podcast because you guys are amazing. I want to thank you, Stephen, and I want to thank the members of this panel. I turned to Stacy a little while ago and said, "This panel's amazing. Isn't this panel amazing?"
So just one more time, that's responsible, RESPONSIBLE, technology, TECHNOLOGY.org, responsibletechnology.org. And please really consider it. I really wouldn't want this organization to not exist. We need people fighting for us, and we're getting trampled if we don't have people, and we need this. So please consider this.
Oh, yeah, livehealthybewell.com, livehealthybewell.com, and there's plenty of things there, too.
When Stephen was talking, I had an image about really of the 737 MAX, and it says everything about our regulatory systems. In this case, they were relying on software that failed dreadfully, and you could see the collusion between the regulator and industry because they let industry self-regulate. And what happens? The plane crashes. And that's really a beautiful analogy for what is happening now. And, well, very much I'd love my organisation to be formed. I like the fact that there's a lot of us out here working together. I think this is really important. And the thing is, actually, we're friends. We aren't competing because we're on the same side and the right side of history. In the case of our organisation, Regeneration International, what we're about is regenerating agriculture, regenerating soils, but also regenerating communities, democracy, regenerating the health of people, and looking at ways we can turn around climate change, because all of these are existential threats. Please go to our website, which is www.regenerationininternational.org, and have a look. But Steve, I want to say thanks, because I really want to encourage you, whether you donate to our organisation, it's not that important to me. The fact is that you're supporting any of us because we're all working towards stopping the 737 MAX that we're in crashing.
So the organization that I founded and I direct is the Alliance for BioIntegrity, and the website is www.biointegrity.org. That's BIO-integrity, biointegrity.org. And we also operate on a shoestring budget. I'm sure that characterizes pretty much every organization up here. And help would be very much appreciated. And of course, buying a book helps a lot too, and I think it'd be well worth your while. But I want to, so anyway, thank you very much. And again, I want to express my appreciation to Stephen and his colleagues. They've done a great job, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to speak here. Thank you.
Can you spell that one with biointegrity.org? Spell biointegrity? BioIntegrityorg.org.
On that website, among some of the information you can get on that website is you can see photocopies of 24 of the key documents that were pried out of the FDA files through the lawsuit. You can see in the FDA scientists' own words their warnings, and you can also see some interesting documents from officials where you can see the games that they were playing. So that's on the website too.
Well, when I shed my rubber suit and respirator for the last time in Italy after spraying pesticides there for several years, I decided to run to the light. And for me, the run to the light was to come back to the States and start working on organic agriculture with a group of young people. And so, when we feel this weight, the heaviness that we have here, I have to say that in some ways I haven't felt that for the last couple of decades, perhaps in quite the same way, because I'm working with the hope of tomorrow. And so I'm now at Sterling College in Vermont and heading up the School of the New American Farmstead, which basically is just an incredible experience to be able to work with, again, not just young people, but people who are stepping into farming, people who are stepping into artisan foods and trying to find the way forward as I have in the past. So, just feel incredibly privileged. And for me, that kind of work every day with these kinds of people, really helps. But at the same time, there's a fight to be fought. It's a little bit kind of in the darkness sometimes, and we have to do that work as well. So I encourage you to try to find that balance. And so we're at sterlingcollege.edu, and you can look and see the programs that we have there in continuing education, professional studies for folks who want to find their way forward in all of this. And that's just an incredibly rich experience, I think. But I also really appreciate the dialogue here, and thank you so much, Steve. This is one of the best organized conferences I've ever been to, so thanks for all the hard work.
Okay, if each of you would take 1 minute to make your final concluding statement, 1 minute each.
Back when I was a student at Stony Brook, there was a professor there named Brett Silverstein, and he wrote a book, the first book I ever read on similar topics, called Fed Up. And it was the first book I've read about food and anything like that back in the 80s, I guess it was. And in it, he tells a story, which I will keep very short, of the new tomato that was being developed out in, I guess, California with a thicker skin back in that day. And the reason they were doing that was so that it could be picked by the machines that were just being developed rather than by the farm workers themselves, so that the machines could then pick it and withstand the grip of the metal on it. And they shipped it. And so somebody shipped this new tomato out to people in Detroit to just check it out. And they dropped it on the floor and they tested it from different heights. And they found out that the tomato was stronger than the minimum federal standard on automobile bumpers. So ever since then, I've been thinking, I don't trust anything without it being confirmed somewhere. And I don't know, I like to keep that as my motto and remind myself of it every once in a while. Thank you.
There are so many problems that we face in the world today that can feel overwhelming and even unconfrontable. And one of the things that's most disempowering, I think, is when we see things out there to which we have an emotional response or an instinctive response of wanting to do something, but what we do doesn't really seem to affect it. Things we see on television, for example, or things that our political leadership might do, and we can feel so small. But I think that what's so empowering to me is that when it comes to our food choices, we have incredible ability to make an impact. We really can shift the course of our destiny. We really can vote for saving farm workers from toxic exposure. We really can vote for a healthier ecosystem. We really can vote for animals not being tortured in factory farms. We really can take the power and the money away from corporations that are polluting our biosphere. And we really can put it into the hands of farmers that are caring for the earth and regenerating soil. And we really can take responsibility for our own health and step out of the grips of big pharma and big medicine and bankruptcy to step into reclaiming our health in our lives. And so I think that food is this incredible opportunity we have to really take a stand with our lives and to bring them into integrity with our values. So I thank you so much for your curiosity and for your partnership in this revolution.
laughing felt really good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And just whatever we can do to feel good is what I'm trying to remind myself, to do what brings us joy, and to really support our young kids. Some of the young girls that I've seen standing up to beauty companies. When I was writing my book, I got so depressed thinking, I just can't go on. I can't go on. And I had been invited to this thing in San Francisco to speak for like 30 seconds. I dragged myself there. Like, I don't want to go. When I got there, I saw 20 young girls dressed in prom dresses and combat boots, like yelling into the microphone saying, we are going to kick the ass of the $50 billion beauty industry. And I was like, yes, okay, I can keep doing this because these girls are out there saying that. I was clueless at that age. And look at what's happening with Greta Thunberg. I love this. There's nothing that freaks the power structure out more than a girl who's willing to say what's what. So let's support our girls.
How many people are feeling like they want to do something more for the betterment of the world? Please raise your hand. It feels like that's a very good epidemic that's going around. That's something that I think is happening, that's one of the really great results of this catastrophe, that of all these different strange ways that corporations have run things. The people are stepping up. And I believe in my experience that there's callings inside of us, missions that we've come in to perform. And we may be knocking against a little ceiling of fear. Can I do this? Am I big enough? Whatnot. But on the other side of that ceiling is the part of who we are that is fully immersed in our mission, that's fully immersed in expressing the superpowers that we came here to wield. And in that space, it is fearless. So I am suggesting that instead of incrementally chipping away at the roof of your fears, that you leap above them into the part of you that says yes to it all, that says yes to being that great person who's here to make a huge difference. And I'll tell you from an experience that I have and the experience of those that I know that are working for the betterment of the world, it is an advanced technique of unbelievable proportions. The grace that comes to us, working without fear for the betterment of the planet and the people, is pure grace. It is something so sweet. It is a delicious secret potion that should never be secret again. Please take it, use it, and change the world.
The fact is, this is a revolution, and it's a grassroots revolution. It's not being led by governments, and it will never be led by governments. Governments follow, they do not lead. And from my perspective as someone who's been involved in this for nearly 50 years, things are changing. We are on the right side of history. In the regenerative agriculture movement now, we are seeing every day articles about it around the world. We are changing farming. Farming organisations, United Nations organisations, political organisations, environmental organisations are all talking about regenerative agriculture. We can regenerate our soils to reverse climate change, but we can also, when we talk about regenerative agriculture, that's about ending degenerative practices. It's about regenerating our communities, regenerating biodiversity. And for me, the beautiful thing about this is we're surrounded by bad news. For instance, we are losing millions of farmers every year. However, when it comes to our movement, we know that we are growing by over 200,000 new farmers a year. We know our market is the fastest growing multi-product market, food market on the planet. And that says to me that we have everything right for moving forward. And I just want to say that we are on the right side of history. And, don't, okay, I suppose most of what we talked about is negative, but what I want to say is that when we look at what is happening on the ground, it is really positive. We are winning, and we are on the right side of history.
Mahatma Gandhi's, I think, favorite maxim that has become really the slogan, the saying of the country of India, was taken from the Vedas, a verse from the Vedas, Satyam eva jayate, which loosely translated means truth ultimately triumphs, or truth alone triumphs. And even though it can seem agonizingly slow for that triumph to take place, I firmly believe that truth will ultimately triumph, that ultimately there's only so long you can keep a lid on the truth. There's only so long that falsehood can prevail. It takes much more effort to keep the lies going. In fact, as Mark Twain once said, and what I think is a wonderful expression, always tell the truth. You'll have less to remember. So, in any event, we could say orderliness will ultimately prevail over the incoherence, and that's truth. Truth is orderliness. Truth is the evolutionary power of nature. Truth is the goodness and the inherence and the good feeling we all feel when we do something good, or the feeling that Jeffrey described. That's being in line with the truth. Increasingly, that's why I wrote the book, Alter Gene's Twisted Truth, to untwist the truth and get the facts out there. Increasingly, I am aiming not to preach to the choir, but to talk to people who need to understand, who've been hoodwinked themselves. And I've been speaking at many more universities and meeting with scientists. And one of the most fulfilling experiences I had in the last few years was when I was invited to speak at North Carolina State University, which is one of the nation's biggest agricultural and engineering technological schools. And I was invited by their prestigious Center for Genetic Engineering and Society. And I gave 2 lectures, one a public lecture and one a talk in their colloquium series. But at the first lecture, the co-director of the center, who's a distinguished professor there, a biochemist, held up my book when she was introducing me, and fortunately, she had read it, and she stated it contains a wealth of information about both science and policy. It's incredibly well referenced. She said that. And then she said a few other nice things, and then she said, so I highly recommend it. And that was very heartwarming, and I got a nice email from another member of the center afterwards thanking me for challenging them, because he said too many of our students, our faculty and our students, have too readily accept the claims of the biotech proponents, and you dealt with this in a respectful scientific manner, based what you said on evidence, and you were open to counterclaims. And so again, these things are hopefully having an effect, and eventually, within the scientific and academic community, there will also be a tipping point and a sea change, and I think we need that to go along with the grassroots as well. So we're all working in our own ways, and it's a great privilege to be with all of you and with all of you. Thank you so much.
Well, for a long-winded academic, I think I'll keep it sort of short here, but I think we really need to reclaim the narrative and the wisdom of our agricultural inheritances, and we need to turn truth into story, not stories into truth. Thank you.